Hello and greetings. This video is a Game Master's Guide of Episode 7 of the Traveler campaign, Secrets of the Ancients. This video is the 8th video in a series of 11 videos. I would recommend watching the first 7 videos before this one. Welcome to the RPGmodsFan spaceship. I am Peaches, and I will be your guide through the 7th episode/adventure of the Traveler, Secrets of the Ancients campaign. As a reminder, in the Traveler RPG system, the Game Master is called the referee. However, I will refer to them as the Game Master or as the GM instead. I will now discuss the episode/adventure itself, and this video will contain spoilers. Unless you are a Game Master who will be running this adventure for their players, or are a player who already played through this adventure and are watching this video for nostalgia purposes, I would suggest not to watch the rest of this video. Previously on Secrets of the Ancients. The travelers experienced flashbacks to the glory days of the ancient empire, while Grandfather probed their minds. They awoke from the flashbacks just in time to see Seven arrive. Grandfather then activated his super weapon. The 7th adventure/episode of the Secrets of the Ancients campaign is titled The Death of Grandfather. A synopsis of the adventure would be as follows. Seven annihilates Grandfather, and the travelers flee through a teleportal to the 3rd system. In Grandfather's pocket universe, where a colony of droid and humans exist. Eventually they find a primitive spacecraft and escape the pocket universe via an orbiting teleportal. I would summarize the adventure as follows. Grandfather's super weapon against Seven does not work. Seven survives and destroys Grandfather. The travelers flee through another teleporter, bringing them to the 3rd system in the pocket universe, where there is a small colony of droid and humans who have lived in Grandfather's shadow for hundreds of thousands of years. This blend of droid and humanity is known as the Skorkowsky culture. When exploring the Skorkowsky culture, the travelers may learn of Professor Anker, a radical droid scientist with an interest in space exploration. They are also likely to run afoul of the Church of Grandfather, or be interrogated and imprisoned by the Bureau of Security. Soon after the travelers arrive, Seven's minions start arriving. The long-sheltered colony faces an apocalypse as the ancient war begins again. If the characters are imprisoned, they are rescued by another agent of Grandfather. The travelers have to escape the devastation and find the only way off the planet via a primitive space program created illegally by droid rebels. There is a second portal in orbit that returns the travelers to Bugin system in the Spinward Marches. When they exit the pocket universe, they are then arrested by Arisa of the Imperial Intelligence. I will now discuss the adventure's main cast of characters, and the adventure has a number of significant NPCs. Early in this episode, Grandfather Yaskoidre will be killed by his renegade son, Seven. However, powerful ancients are hard to kill permanently. Ancients who have certain facilities are able to resurrect themselves. These facilities are called the family archives. Some methods the ancients use to cheat death include cloned bodies, consciousness transfer, and cybernetics. In order to permanently kill an ancient, their family archive must also be destroyed. Grandfather favors using consciousness transfer into cloned bodies. When his current form is mortally wounded, he psionically jumps his consciousness to another clone body. Right now, a backup of his consciousness is in one of the player characters. In contrast to Grandfather, Seven's family archive uses cybernetics to resurrect himself. Via teleportal, after escaping Seven's destruction of Grandfather's space station, the travelers end up in a dark forest on a world that is 1 parsec away. The first people they meet will be a trio of humans who saw a strange flash in the forest and went to investigate. The trio of humans are a middle-aged farmer named Lan, his son, Thut, and his daughter, Oro. They are all dressed in synthetic tunics. From them, inquisitive travelers can learn a lot about the Skorkowsky culture, which is a droid colony consisting of droid and humans. They can learn about the Church of Grandfather, which is the state religion of the Skorkowsky world. Likewise, they can learn about the Guardians, which serves as a paramilitary police force of the Skorkowsky Society. Similarly, they can also learn about the Bureau of Security, which conducts internal surveillance on Skorkowski's own denizens. And they can learn about Professor Anka from the University of Ushan. Professor Anka is a radical droid scientist with an interest in space exploration. She sympathizes with the humans' plight in Skorkowsky culture. She is a professor at the University of Ushan and is the university's star researcher. Her radical views about both space travel and human rights have made her suspect in the eyes of the Bureau of Security. Anka believes that the Skorkowsky must move off their homeworld and explore the universe. To the Skorkowsky, the universe is only 3 parsecs across and contains only 3 stars. She is the leader of a secret space program that has managed to build a secret launch facility along with a rocket that is ready to launch. Just to be nitpicky, in the sourcebook, Professor Anka is described as a he. Then, later on in the sourcebook, the professor switches genders and becomes a she. This is just another one of my complaints about the book. Fierte is a squad leader of the Guardians. The paramilitary organization of the Guardians effectively serves as the police force of the Skorkowsky Society. She and her squad are sent to investigate the strange flash of light that occurred in the forest. The leader of the Church of Yaskoidre is a droid named Atos, whose official title is the Coinkeeper. Atos knows the truth about Grandfather, but pretends to be a religious fanatic to keep the Church's faithful enthused and loyal. In truth, he regards the Church as nothing but a useful instrument of social control and for carrying out Grandfather's wishes. His human aide, Kale, is an augmented creation of Grandfather. Atos is more interested in his powerful position than he is about the truth. Hence, he is more likely to think the travelers are delusional and have them imprisoned by the Bureau of Security. Kale is a cybernetically augmented human agent of Grandfather, just like Len Baquet is an agent of Seven. He was on a fishing vacation before things started to go crazy. Also, Kale has psionic ability and can sense that Grandfather's consciousness is hidden in one of the travelers. He serves as a Deus Ex Machina in this adventure. He will get the travelers out of trouble that they are unable to get themselves out of, such as being imprisoned by the Bureau of Security. The Bureau of Security is a shadowy government agency and is dedicated to preserving the status quo in Skorkowsky society. The Bureau has spies everywhere. The emotionless and inscrutable Administrator Ute is the head of the Bureau. The Bureau is monitoring suspicious activity in the Western Mountains, which is where the illegal space program is taking place. He cares little for wild tales about aliens and dimensional pockets. He just wants to keep the humans in line and ensure the safety of the general population. I will now go through the episode/adventures timeline of events. My apologies, in advance, I will be repeating some things I have already mentioned before. The travelers are on board Grandfather's space station in his pocket universe. Via teleportals within the star, Grandfather's weapon draws energy from it, and he fires his weapon on Seven. Seven is unaffected. Seven then sends a swarm of war drones onto the planet below the space station, bombarding it with thermonuclear bombs. Several smaller drones shoot past the space station's defenses and assault it. A huge robotic droid appears and tells the travelers to follow it to the station's evacuation teleportals. As the travelers leave Grandfather's chambers, they witness Seven tearing apart Grandfather, cell by cell. As the travelers make their way through the halls of the space station, which has become a battlefield, the robotic droid often uses its huge wings to protect the travelers from shrapnel, missiles, and stray shots. The travelers barely escape the destruction via an evacuation teleportal. They materialize in a forest at night, on an alien world, orbiting the third star system in the Pocket Universe. The catastrophically damaged droid robot lies before them. Before completely shutting down, it informs the travelers that there is an exit portal from the Pocket Universe in orbit around this planet, and Grandfather has an agent on this planet. The woods around the travelers are thick and heavily overgrown. There are no signs of roads or paths beyond the occasional animal track. The droid robot is non-functional, cannot be repaired, and nothing of value can be salvaged from it. Due to their telepathic flashbacks in the previous episode, the travelers gained the ability to speak and understand Oinprith, the language of the droid. After some time, the travelers see lights approaching through the trees. These are electric lanterns held by a trio of human investigators who saw a strange flash in the forest when the travelers teleported in. The humans are a middle-aged farmer named Lan, his son, Thut, and his daughter, Oro. They are dressed in synthetic tunics. They speak Oinprith. The travelers can learn the following from the trio. The droid are their overlords. This droid colony is known as the Skorkowsky. The Skorkowsky are at technology level 7. Although they have achieved a network that is equivalent to that of the internet, they have not yet achieved space travel. The state religion of the Skorkowsky is the Church of Grandfather. They view Yaskoidre as the creator. The church claims that demons dwell in the outer dark, which is the lightless region beyond the pocket universe, where the travelers originate from. Races other than human or droid are viewed as demons. The droid university professor, Anka, is a pro-human activist and is a thorn in the side of the government and the church. It is rumored that she has proposed a space mission. At this point, the trio and the travelers will most likely be at Lan's farmstead. As an additional note from me, if the travelers show the trio the wreckage of the droid robot, they will be frightened. They will wonder if the travelers are demons who have killed one of Grandfather's divine messengers. The trio were not the only ones who saw the teleportation flash of light. 6 hours after the travelers arrives, a squad of droid paramilitaries fly to the scene. Droid paramilitaries serve as the police and are known as the Guardians. They investigate the teleport site in the woods, take the remains of the robot away, and will arrest the travelers if they are found. The leader of the squad is a droid named Firte. If the travelers were arrested, she will question them. Like most droid, she looks down upon humans. Depending on their answers, she either brings them to the church if they have believably presented themselves as emissaries of Yaskoidre, or to the Bureau of Security if she thinks of them as demons. Both the church stronghold and the Bureau are located in the city of Ushan. Also, in the city is the University of Ushan, where Professor Anka teaches at. Hence, one way or another, the travelers' next destination is Ushan. If the travelers linger too long at Lan's farmstead, then it might be attacked by Seven's invasion force. Seven's invasion is a future event known as the Nightmare Breach. If the travelers resist arrest and fight off the Guardians with their technologically superior weapons, then the Game Master should skip to the Nightmare Breach event. Ushan is a city with 6 million droid and 2 million humans. If the travelers enter the city openly and not hiding their high-tech gear, they will either be picked up by the Bureau of Security or by the church. If human travelers conceal themselves, they can pass for ordinary humans and move around the city freely. While spending a few days in and walking about in the city, the travelers may encounter one or more of the following: a security patrol of droid guardians looking for human criminals and dissidents who oppose the Bureau of Security, a protest crowd of several hundred people, both human and droid, who demanding greater investment in science. Their chants call for the Church of Grandfather to have less influence over the direction of scientific research. As milky night falls across Ushan, the travelers hear the chants and songs of the priests of Grandfather. At the edge of the city, the travelers see droid security forces conduct a military drill involving an armored zeppelin. The normally milky whitish night skies are turning bluer. This is due to the pocket universe contracting. The campus of the University of Ushan resembles a cross between an old college buildings, the ones with ivy-covered Victorian architecture and tree-lined walks, and droid architecture. The scientist cast droid, Professor Anka, is the university's star researcher, but her radical views about both space travel and human rights have made her suspect in the eyes of the Bureau of Security. Other than calculations on escape velocity, estimates of rocket fuel efficiency, and oxygen consumption, Professor Anka leaves no evidence of the secret space program she is working on at the university. Among her files are the observations of objects in orbit, one of which is the teleportal. Upon meeting the professor, she is overjoyed to meet with off-worlders and questions the travelers enthusiastically about everything. She also asks for their help with her rocket program. The Church of Yaskoidre is the single most powerful force in Yaskoti society. Their largest cathedral is in Ushan and is located in the heart of the city. Their leader is a droid named Atos, whose official title is the Coin Keeper. Atos pretends to be a religious fanatic, to keep the church's faithful enthused and loyal. However, he knows much of the truth of Grandfather. Atos also knows the existence of an illegal space program being conducted somewhere west of Ushan. His human aide, Kale, is an agent of Grandfather. He is an augmented creation of Grandfather. During the time the travelers are meeting with Atos, Kale is absent and off on a secret mission. How Atos deals with the travelers depends on whether he thinks the travelers are emissaries from Grandfather or are delusional. If he thinks they are delusional, which will likely be the case, he will have them imprisoned by the Bureau of Security. Atos is more worried about compromising his powerful position than he is about the truth. The Bureau of Security is a shadowy government department that is dedicated to preserving the status quo in Yaskoti society. Deviants are purged or exiled, disruptive technologies are sabotaged, and political dissent is stifled. The Bureau has spies everywhere. Administrator Ute is the head of the Bureau. The Bureau is monitoring suspicious activity in the Western Mountains, which is where the illegal space program is taking place. The Bureau's center of operations in Ushan is an underground facility beneath the city center. The travelers will be spied upon. Anyone they talk to will be detained and interviewed. If the travelers resist arrest by the Bureau and are blasting away with their high-tech weaponry, the Bureau will eventually send in the Marines and heavily armed air gunships. Whether the travelers are at the university, the Church of Grandfather, or the Bureau of Security, the Game Master must decide when to start the Nightmare Breach event. However, prior to the Nightmare Breach event, the travelers can get some foreshadowing of the event. The milky whitish night skies are getting bluer. The travelers may hear rumors of strange events, such as of strange fast-moving lights in the sky, of small spheres dropping out of cloudless sky, of zombies and attack drones, of mass hysteria and rioting in outlying settlements, and television news reports of a mysterious illness. They may encounter Droin, being devastated by this mysterious illness. The Bureau of Security will impose a public curfew and blame human dissidents on causing violence in the streets. During all this time, Seven has been trying to breach into Grandfather's pocket universe. This is a major plot hole in the secrets of the ancient story. First, the sourcebook states, Seven has breached into Grandfather's pocket universe and killed Grandfather. Now it states, Seven is trying to breach into the pocket universe. I, already, do not have a high opinion about the sourcebook. Hence, formulating a solution to fix this plot hole is not worth the effort. Actually, RPGmodsFan has formulated a solution which will be mentioned in the closing remarks section of this video. Anyway, servants of Seven were able to follow the travelers to the Yaskoti world. Their mission is to search the planet for Grandfather's family archive. In his first wave, Seven has sent the following invasion forces ahead: Neural Hijack Plague, which is a combination of organic and cybernetic virus, assassin drones, equipped with disintegrators, and assemblers, which are large construction robots. The Neural Hijack Plague infects the Droin, subverts their brains, and effectively turns them into zombies. Their purpose is to spread their infection, find Grandfather's family archive, and they are able to communicate their findings and progress to each other and to Seven. Droin player characters are vulnerable to infection. The assassin drones are meant to support Seven's invasion force. If the travelers are spotted, assassin drones are dispatched to eliminate them. Assemblers are large robots who start harvesting resources and are tasked with constructing a very large teleportation device. Once the teleporter is completed, Seven sends his second wave. During the second wave, Seven will send Scourge machines, which are huge attack drones. These large aircraft-sized attack drones have nasty weapons and firepower. The Scourge machines will be wiping out the Escalates. However, their primary purpose is to annihilate Grandfather's family archive as soon as it is located. Seven intends to tear Grandfather's pocket universe apart until he finds Grandfather's family archive. However, what Seven does not know is that Grandfather has already moved his archive out of the pocket universe. As I stated before, Kale can be used as a Deus Ex Machina in this adventure. He will get the travelers out of trouble that they are unable to get themselves out of, such as being imprisoned by the Bureau of Security. Upon meeting the travelers, through his psionic abilities, he will know that Grandfather's consciousness is hidden in one of the player characters. His primary mission will be to protect and aid that character, sacrificing himself if necessary. He informs the travelers of his hidden supply cache located in the small village of Gaerth. If they have not figured it out by now, he also informs the travelers about the secret space program in the Western Mountains. In the end, he is supposed to die from a drone attack, but was able to give enough time for the travelers to escape and continue on their mission to get off the planet. By this point in the adventure, the travelers should know that the only way into orbit is via the rumored secret space program in the Western Mountains. The city of Ushan has become a battlefield. Because of their immunity to Seven's virus, humans now make up the bulk of the Escalates military, but they are also being wiped out by the invaders' superior technology and firepower. Currently, the only safe refuge is the underground human tunnels, which become rapidly filled with refugees, both human and droid. However, once the invaders have determined that Grandfather's family archive is not in Ushan, they conclude that it might be beneath it. Hence, they will start clearing the surface and blasting their way underground. Looking back at the city, the travelers can see the Scourge machines moving in. They move soundlessly through the sky. Their beam weapons sear the landscape and vaporize billions of tons of rock in seconds, carving a deep crater where the city once stood. The city of Ushan is utterly destroyed, and the same fate awaits every other part of this doomed world. Kale's supply cache is located 50 kilometers north of the city. It's similar to Uncle Len's hunting lodge on Alel, but is located underground instead. For game balance purposes, the adventure has only a few high weapons and gear available for the travelers at the cache. The travelers are traveling west, towards Professor Anker's secret launch facility. Due to hazards along the way, it takes the travelers at least 16 hours to get there. The Western Mountains are towering pinnacles of granite and are known as the Mountains of Grandfather's Wings. Building a secret launch facility here took years of effort. Professor Anker could not have succeeded without sympathizers within the Bureau of Security. The launch facility was disguised as a mine. Rocket parts and supplies were shipped in, disguised as mining equipment. The secret base's isolation has been its salvation. The plague has not reached the base yet, and the 300 droid present are uninfected. The leader of the base is Professor Anker's assistant, a young droid technician, named Skorkowsky. He has been monitoring radio traffic from Ushan, and is aware that an apocalypse has befallen the entire Escalates civilization. To rally morale, he has had the droid staff prepare the rocket for launch, as a bleak gesture against the end of their world. The travelers will need to convince Skorkowsky to allow them to board the rocket. The droid rocket is roughly equivalent to an Atlas-class rocket, consists of 4 booster stages, and can hold a crew of up to 10 if the scientific payload and other supplies are discarded.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
During the countdown, assassin drones arrive and start destroying the facility. The rocket launches. One by one, the booster stages drop away. Only the rocket's capsule is left and heads towards the orbiting teleportal. Once in orbit, the travelers clearly see the contraction of the pocket universe is occurring. And now, the big plot twist. Grandfather's so-called secret weapon against Seven has been a ruse. There is no family archive on this world or anywhere in the Pocket universe. It was all a trap for Seven. Once the travelers are through the portal, it will shut behind them and never open again. The Pocket universe will then collapse, destroying Grandfather's wayward son. As the travelers approach the teleportal, their capsule shakes and rattles. The capsule's consoles spark, lights flicker, instruments go dead, and the engines fail. A flash of light knocks the characters unconscious as the portal teleports the traveler's capsule back to the Spinward Marches. Since the episode has no maps or new creatures, I guess I will go straight to the closing remarks section of this video, which are not too favorable. As mentioned before, this episode has a major plot hole in it. Game masters can simply say that Seven is already in the Pocket universe, and he sent advanced scouts and forces throughout the Pocket universe to search and destroy Grandfather's family archive. This next critique could be considered minor. Earlier, in the sourcebook, it is mentioned that the travelers can retrieve their ship, such as the Star Hunter, assuming it is still intact, in this episode. However, this episode makes no mention on how they can do so. Plus, their ship is now a parsec away, and the primitive spacecraft they are in is not capable of faster than light travel. If you have any ideas on how to make this episode/adventure even better, please share them in the comments below. Actually, this episode is in need of improvement. Next week, I will provide a walkthrough of the next episode, in the Emperor's name. Thank you for watching, from all of us at the RPGmodsFan spaceship. Hope this video has been informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like feedback, and we try to respond to as many comments as we can. Till next time, on behalf of RPGmodsFan, I am Peaches, saying cheers, have a good day, and goodbye.
Why is it that every time I make the same mistake? Never know when I'm setting off. The consequence is just the same. I lie awake at night, wondering how it ended up this way. I get caught up in my thoughts, wondering if you feel